she got the opportunity in 1997 when she was invited to give a speech before the People's Congress in Beijing. With the entire Communist Party elite, including Jiang Zemin and Hu Jintao, and in addition to 4,800 delegates listening attentively in the great hall of the people, Kadeer, this tiny and delicate woman, called on the Chinese government to respect Uyghurs' religious freedom, to put an end to arbitrary arrests, and stop executing political prisoners. She demanded respect for the Uyghur history, literature, and language. The speech was a declaration of war. 4 weeks later, she was banned from the People's Congress, and her passport was confiscated. Beijing also pressured her to divorce her dissident husband, who had fled to the US in 1996. She did not give in. In spite of official mistreatment, Mrs. Kadeer founded the Thousand Mothers Movement in December 1997. The objective of this movement was to improve the lives of Uyghur women and help them to start small business, to support their families and educate their children. She hired homeless Uyghurs off the street and offered them jobs in her company so that they could earn money in a decent way. Kadeer donated money to public schools, and she opened free schools for Uyghurs who did not have the opportunity to go to school. She offered financial assistance to many Uyghurs who were poor and therefore could not even afford medical treatment. Her ongoing social entrepreneurship and struggle for the Uyghurs' rights earned the people's love and respect. However, her social activities may have been seen by the Chinese authorities as undermining national unity and social stability. The Thousand Mothers Movement was officially banned by the Xinjiang government on February 25, 1998. Realizing that she could no longer help the Uyghur people by working within the Chinese political system, Mrs. Kadeer decided to raise her case internationally. In August of 1999, just before she was scheduled to meet with a delegation from the US Congress, the police arrested her. Later, a Chinese court sentenced her to 8 years in prison for revealing state secrets. Her crime? Attempting to send newspaper articles to her exiled husband in the US, magazines that were widely available in China. When her case was tried, there was no audience and she had no legal representation. The Chinese government put her in a solitary confinement in the first 2 years in prison in order to break her will. Books were banned and she was not allowed to receive visitors for 2 years. She was not tortured, but she had to listen to how other Uyghurs were exposed to physical torture. Later, she was transferred to a women's prison, probably due to international pressure. Mrs. Kadeer's case became an international embarrassment for the Chinese government after Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, the Duahua Foundation publicized her case, and after she was awarded the 2004 Rafto Prize. When the US State Department applied significant political pressure for her release, it yielded results. On March 17, 2005, after more than 5.5 years, she was released on medical parole, just 3 days before the then US Secretary of State, Condoleezza Rice's official visit to Beijing. Mrs. Kadeer became the first Uyghur political prisoner to be freed by the PRC due to international pressure. Since living in the free world, Mrs. Kadeer has spoken out against the Chinese government's horrific violation of a people's human rights. Following Mrs. Kadeer's release to the United States in 2005, she has been traveling throughout the world to raise awareness about the Uyghurs' human rights. However, her advocacy on behalf of her people has continued to come to a great personal cost. The Chinese government has been retaliating against Mrs. Kadeer for her peaceful and lawful political activities by targeting her family members in Xinjiang. In fact, Mrs. Kadeer has stated that prior to her release, she was warned that if she engaged with Uyghurs or spoke publicly about sensitive issues after her release, her children, as well as her business in Xinjiang, would be finished. When Rebiya Kadeer was elected president of the Uyghur American Association in May 2006, the Chinese government confiscated all the financial records of her family business. A month later, her sons, Alim and Ablikim, both managing directors in the company, were arrested and tortured in detention. Her oldest son, Kahar, who had no role in the family business, was arrested for tax evasion. Later, in 2007, the family business was confiscated by the Chinese government. Ablikim was sentenced to 9 years in prison on charges of secessionism in April of 2007. Mrs. Kadeer is willing to pay a high price for speaking out. Kadeer knows that she would never have won her release without sustained international pressure. Know that I'm free to speak. I feel I have a duty to try to apply the same pressure to secure the release of so many others who remain behind bars, she says. The Chinese government has declared her a terrorist. Her response to these accusations is, I'm a mother. I'm a woman of peace. So I am committed to non-violence. And I'm opposed to terrorism in all forms, whether it's perpetrated by an individual, a group, or a state. Today, there is a cultural genocide going on in Xinjiang. The old town of the historic city of Kashgar is being demolished. I therefore call on every government in the free world, also the Norwegian government, to receive Mrs. Rabiya Kadeer on a political level and listen to her story. It's time for the world to speak out for the Uyghurs. Thank you.